Welcome back to Reflect. My name is Brendan. Today at a rally in Erie, Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris actually played a video montage of Donald Trump threatening to use the military on American citizens.
And so after all these years, we know who Donald Trump is. He is someone who will stop at nothing to claim power for himself. And you don't have to take my word for it. I've said for a while now, watch his rallies. Listen to his words. He tells us who he is. And he tells us what he would do if he is elected president. So here tonight, I will show you one example of Donald Trump's worldview and intentions. Please roll the clip.
The worst people are the enemies from within.
The enemy from within. Those people are more dangerous, the enemy from within, than Russia and China.
These people should be put in jail the way they talk about our judges and our justices. Now, if you had one really violent day, one rough hour, and I mean real rough.
I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
So you heard his words. You heard his words coming from him. He's talking about the enemy within Pennsylvania. He's talking about the enemy within our country, Pennsylvania. He's talking about that he considers anyone who doesn't support him or who will not bend to his will an enemy of our country. It's a serious issue. He is saying that he would use the military to go after them. Think about this. And we know who he would target. And we know who he would target because he has attacked them before. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Election officials who refuse to cheat by filling extra votes and finding extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of bending to his will. This is among the reasons I believe so strongly that a second Trump term would be a huge risk for America and dangerous. Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged. And he is out for unchecked power. That's what he's looking for. He wants to send the military after American citizens. He has worked to prevent women from making their own health care decisions and threaten your fundamental freedoms and rights.
Listening to Donald Trump threaten military force on American citizens after the Supreme Court gave him immunity on all official acts should be terrifying for everyone. I want to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, and then we'll get back to Donald Trump's threat of force. Today's video is sponsored by Aura, an online security company that I am incredibly proud to be partnering with to bring you a better sense of security online. Because recently, hackers may have stolen every American's social security number. These stolen records include a person's full name, their address, their date of birth, their phone number, and members of this hacking group have released all of the information online for free. So if you weren't taking precautions with your personal information online before, this should be the time to take action, because you've never been more vulnerable than you are right now. But I'm not too worried because I've recently started using Aura that tracks my public information, including my social security number, across billions of data points online, including the dark web and public court records in case of identity theft. They also provide you a bunch of other features to keep you safe online, all inside a very easy to use app. You can go to aura.com/reflect to get 2 weeks free, which will give Aura plenty of time to see if any of your personal records have been leaked online. Why wait for another national public data breach to secure your online information? So be sure to go now to aura.com/reflect to get your 2 weeks free. Going back to that Supreme Court decision, if Donald Trump were to have a second term, not only would he use the military against American citizens and target those who opposed him, but he would have a Supreme Court who would go along with every decision he would make because they're corrupt. He would also stack that Supreme Court with more justices. Those are just two of the dangers of a second term. And if you're a Trump supporter and you're saying, hey, I'm cool with him talking like this because I don't see the threat here, he's not going to go after me. 40 members of his staff who worked up close and personal with him said that he should never hold that office again. You think he's not going to target those people? What makes you think that he's going to stop with the radical left? I mean, how do you even define the radical left? That's just Donald Trump saying he's going to use the military against anybody who doesn't like him. And if you're a Trump supporter, just imagine living in that world where you have the most powerful military in the history of the world who could be at your doorstep if you slip up and say one thing wrong. Because again, Donald Trump would be the decider. No courts, no judges, not a jury of your peers. No, Donald Trump would send in the military after you if you slip up once. And of course, Republicans who were asked about Trump making this threat, it's getting, as Trump gets worse and worse, as he makes more and more violent threats, as he gets closer to losing this election, Republicans are taking more and more extreme steps to sidestep this. Usually their response to anything Trump says is, hey, he's kind of joking, right? Not this time. They're just flat out denying that he said it.
Heard some of the language that Mr. Trump used over the weekend. What do you think of this idea of, quote, we have some sick people, radical left lunatics, and I think it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, the National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. Is that something that you support?
Jake, first of all, thank you for having me. And I guess what I want to just make very clear is that it's my belief that what former President Trump is talking about are the people that are coming over the border, that in fact are committing crimes, that are bringing drugs, that are trafficking humans, and that are turning every state into a border state. And I'm a governor of a state that is not near the southern border, and yet I see the impacts of 10 million people illegally coming across the border every single day. 5 Virginians die on average from fentanyl overdose. We have folks that have crashed, the illegal immigrants that have crashed the front gate at Quantico in a box truck, trying to gain access to Quantico. And we've had Virginians who have been subjected to sexual assaults by Venezuelan gang members. So to say that this isn't happening, Jake, is just not fair to Americans. And so it is happening.
I'm not saying that at all. Obviously, there is a border crisis. Obviously, there are too many criminals who should not be in this country, and they should be jailed and deported completely. But that's not what I'm talking about, because he was talking about sick people, radical left lunatics who should be handled by the National Guard or the military. And then later on in that same speech, he said that one of the lunatics he addressed was Congressman Adam Schiff. That's who he was talking about using the National Guard and military against, radical left lunatics, enemy from within, people like Adam Schiff.
Again, Jake, I don't think that and again, I can't,
I'm just reading you his
speak
quotes
for him. But I do think that you are misinterpreting and misrepresenting his thoughts.
What kind of coward uses sexual assault and drug overdoses to distract from a president threatening to use the military on Americans in the country? I mean, that's just insane. It's cowardice. But of course, Youngkin, who is the Republican governor of Virginia, is a complete coward. That's the only people who are left in the Republican Party. They're cowards who have gone along with Trump every step of the way. I mean, the idea that Trump could use the military on Americans who disagree with him is completely anti-American. It's another example of just how delusional Donald Trump is, how anti-American this guy is, how criminal this guy is. So, again, this should and will terrify Americans who are turning out to vote in the coming weeks. There are a lot of people who are looking at this saying, my goodness, this is really scary what this guy is threatening to do. I don't want to live in a world like that. I don't want my kids to live in a world like that. You have the MAGA cult, right, who will say, oh, no, we're totally fine with this. It's ride or die Trump. That's fine. But that's not who America is. Americans are watching this and completely disagree with it. I'm amazed that Bartiromo, the person who was holding that interview with Donald Trump, left this in her show. I mean, this is such a terrible thing for Donald Trump to say in the weeks before the election. The blowback from this is going to be insane. Kamala Harris has never used a video clip at her rally before. That just kind of goes to show you how big of a blunder this was. I mean, all of her delegates, all of her supporters, all of the people who are going out and campaigning for her, the former president Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Tim Walz, Doug Emhoff, they're all going to use this and talk about this at every rally. This should seal the deal for Donald Trump. This is the day that should be the end. He should drop out, and the Republican Party should condemn him and say that this isn't who we are. They won't, but the American people will during this election. This is the day. This is the moment that Donald Trump sealed his fate as the losing candidate in 2024. So Kamala Harris, you just got the White House. Let me know what your reflections are in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe so that you get my future videos about politics and this election delivered straight to you. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.